Welcome back. All right, so since we're into the heart of the off season, where all the pundits and all the insiders have kind of gone radio silent because there's not a lot going on, I figured now's a good time to make one of these random videos. And I definitely see a difference once you get just past the middle of July in terms of how much engagement you're going to get with videos. And so I wanted to start off talking about meetups. So we play street hockey once every couple of weeks when I have the chance. We did have a meetup last Sunday and this past Saturday or yesterday. And I'm much less sore today than I was last week because we had a lot more players. But I got 2 goals yesterday. I had 3 the week before. So at any rate, I wanted to talk about meetups because I know there's been a lot of discussion and for guys who come to these. So first off, every meetup we bring this. This is what we're bringing. So hockey balls in here, my hockey gloves, which, and I mentioned this in the live stream yesterday for the meetup. I've seen people saying, oh, you don't need gloves. Who needs gloves for street hockey? I do. There are 2 occasions this summer where I got hit in the hand, either with a stick or with the ball, that if I wasn't wearing gloves, it would have hurt. And so since I don't get hurt, I think the gloves have paid for themselves. And also I get a better grip on the stick, I believe. And I think yesterday, I think it's really helped my shot too. I've got 5 goals the last 2 meetups. So yeah, something's working. So not changing that. But we don't have like a way to denote who's on what team. It really has. I didn't have a problem yesterday figuring out who was on my team and who wasn't. There was one occasion where I looked to pass maybe to a guy who wasn't on my team, but when I looked, I realized, no, don't pass it there. And I do understand there are people who want us to have like pennies. Pennies are a no-go because then we'd have to clean. Like yesterday, we had like 34 people, I think, at the peak of it. So that's 34 pennies minimum that we'd be bringing home to have cleaned. And it's not fun, and it's smelly, and it's kind of gross. So, no thank you. And it hasn't been necessary. We've been doing meetups now for 7 years. And it is a situation, too, where like yesterday we switched up who was on which team. The teams were a little lopsided at times yesterday, so we switched out who was on what team. And it's a fun, casual game. Like, it's not this super serious game. It's just very casual. That's why we don't have slap shots. I don't want somebody getting hurt at a meetup and then, missing time at work. Or some of these guys are in college and university. I don't want them missing any time. I don't want them missing any time in summer either because it's summer. So going to a street hockey game I'm putting on and then hurting your shoulder or your leg, I don't want that. I don't. So we try to keep it as safe as possible and as casual as possible, where it's a fun game. And we do generally have fun with it. And so, yeah, there's my take on all that. We don't do ice hockey because a lot of guys can't skate. If we did ice hockey, I don't think I'd get more than maybe 5 or 6 guys to show up. I don't. Very, very difficult to put together an ice hockey game in the middle of summer as well. So, because a lot of rinks around here, they would have got the ice out because it's expensive to have ice. So, yeah, no, I'm not going to change this. I've been doing street hockey for years. I always bring 6 hockey sticks with me. They're all right-handed, so I don't have a left-handed stick. But the reality is that I want this to be a game where anybody can come out and play. So when I'm seeing comments about how these guys all suck and they're bad, yeah, and I want them to come out and play with us because they probably don't feel all that comfortable going out and playing with others because of that sentiment. Because they're told that they suck. They're told they're not any good at it. They're outcast from, any kind of organized sport because, well, they're not very good. So they're not going to pick them. Why are you here? So, yeah, those are some of the guys that end up coming out to play at my meetups because that's the kind of guys I hung out with in high school. I was never hanging around with jocks in high school. And we would go out and play street hockey. Me and my nerd friends, we'd all go out and play street hockey together. It was fun. So that's how I envision that. That's why it's done the way that it is. And I don't have any interest in making it all, basically where it's kind of scheduled and there's kind of a tournament set up, because that was something I discussed at one of them a few weeks ago too. I don't I don't want to make it where it's this really serious thing or anything like that. So at any rate, that's the topic of meetups. So we put that to the side. Off-season playlists. If you haven't noticed, outside of me doing videos on, each team, and I'm doing one team per day, I haven't really been doing the off-season playlists as much as normal. So I did like a redraft yesterday. I did like a power rankings as well. And I have fun with those videos. I don't consider those to be off-season playlists. Last summer, I did the season-by-season look at the National Hockey League. It did not great numbers, and the historical stuff generally doesn't, so I'm keeping that to a minimum this summer. One thing that I'm very conscious of right now is my video output. Most years, it's been 5 videos per day that I'm doing, about 5. And this summer, I'm trying to restrict it to 3 or 4. So I may do another video after this one on the Hockey Channel, but I'm trying to restrict it to 3 or 4. And understanding that there's been summers that I've kind of panicked in the offseason, like I gotta do more. Yeah, when I do more, it means that I'm splitting off view counts, and I'm probably putting out content that isn't going to draw, and so it just makes the stress go up. So I'm kind of looking at it this year like, hey, there's a certain point during the summer where you're going to have your core audience, and there's nothing that you could post on the Hockey Channel which is going to garner a lot of attention and actually the view counts that you get during, Stanley Cup playoffs and all that. But there is a workaround I'm trying to work on this summer, and it's worked out pretty well so far, but I'll get to that. It's actually another item on the board. But yeah, video output, I'm trying to keep it at 3 or 4. So when I go on vacation, odds are I'm pre-recording 3 videos to go live every day. And if the view counts are low, the view counts are low. There's a certain point where I have to just say that's that and move along. Because what does the stress do? Nothing. It does nothing. The stress does nothing. It's the off season and it's hockey, so it's just there's not much I can do. Next season I'm already working on, so I talked about that in a news video. There's only one Canuck game that I think I can go to this year, but looking at the prices, they haven't released single game packages, but they've released 3 game packages. I don't think I'm going to a game this year because it's just too expensive. I love going to concerts. I have other concerts I'm going to this summer. It is much cheaper for me to go to a rock concert than it is to go to a Vancouver Canucks game. And the best part is, I'm not going to come out of a concert saying, well, they lost. I'm really glad I spent that money. Like, there's a disappointment level you can have coming out of a sporting event you're not generally going to have coming out of a concert. I have been disappointed in concerts before. Sometimes the audio is kind of screwy, depending on the band. And sometimes you go and watch an artist who may not be 100% sober, and that sucks. But generally, you have a better chance of enjoying yourself at a concert, I think, than a Vancouver sporting event involving the Vancouver Canucks. It's reality. So like a few years ago when we were going to Vancouver games, if it was, about $100 a ticket, I could justify it. But it feels like the ticket prices have more than doubled over the last 5 years, and I'm not doing it. So also with next season, I'm going to try to keep things as simple and as light as possible when I'm doing my reviews, and try to make them more fun. I also want to make it so that at the end of every review video, I say, here's the standings, here's what changed tonight. And obviously early in the season, that's not going to be a big deal, but as the season rolls along, it does add up. And so that's part of the plan for this year when it comes to the reviews. More overview of, so here's how things changed tonight than what I've been doing. Initially, when I started doing the reviews, I would do that, and then I stopped. But I'm going to bring that back. So I'm already figuring that out. I'm already hoping to get to more Abbotsford games this year, too, because season ticket holder and all that, it would be great to go to more Abbotsford games. But I restrict myself, so it has to be a night where there's only 4 or less NHL games going on. I may change that to 5. I may change that to 5 this year and go with that. But, yeah, I'm already trying to figure all that stuff out. I don't have off days because I see this question too of why I don't take days off. I've talked about this. I will talk about this again because I know there are people who may not be aware. I have been to Vegas Anaheim, obviously meetups close by. I have met with subscribers who have told me how important my daily content is to them. How important it is that every day they can count on me like clockwork. Any day that I've been sick and I've not been able to get a video done earlier in the day because I'm not feeling well, there are comments and questions coming in pretty darn quickly to our email, to our Facebook page, and all of that. And people will, see me as part of their daily routine. And I know how important that is. So I try to keep my schedule as regular as possible. And I try to make sure my output is the same as well. And so I feel like if me being in here every day doing videos is helping people, I'm willing to do that. I remember going through a lot of personal upheaval years back before I had a YouTube channel. And the channels I followed on YouTube were very good at making me feel like for the time I was watching those videos, my life was normal. For the time I spent watching those channels, everything felt okay at a time where things weren't okay. So I understand that I'm able to do that for people. And I've seen people in the comments saying they're going through a loss, they're going through a really rough time. My videos are helping them to keep their sanity and keep it together. And so that's important. That's why I do daily videos. I don't need to. I could easily pack things up right now and say I'm going to take the next 2 weeks off. People would understand. But I feel like it is important for me to make sure that people who are counting on me, that they have that. So that's why I pre-record before I go on vacation too. I don't really have to do that, but I'm going to do that. Now, also, and this goes back to the video output, I'm posting daily videos now on the Entertainment Guy channel as well. The Entertainment Guy channel has grown pretty well over the last, I would say, 6 weeks. And I'm very encouraged by the numbers on there. Yes, there are times where I get burnt out talking about hockey. I still enjoy making videos where I talk about other things. So it could be about wrestling, it could be about baseball, it could be about any various number of topics. One thing with the Entertainment Guy channel is it's basically for anything that's not hockey. It is for everything else. And while I'm trying to get my list together for Jersey Countdown, which is coming, I'm also putting together a song list, count down my favorite songs of all time, and I've got it at about 1,400 songs. The list is about 1,400 songs right now. I don't know how many I'm actually going to do a countdown of, but right now at about 1,400, which seems all right. So I do like making lists, and I want to do one as well on TV shows, movies. If I can list it, I will. And also the geeky jerseys, like this one I'm wearing. I want to do a countdown of my favorite geeky jerseys as well. Career videos are coming. And I do see the comments with waiting on this career video, waiting on that career video. There is the possibility that a career video will be the final video on this channel today. And the career videos, I'm spacing them out. I think one thing that I've learned over the summers is that I've got to make sure I've got content in my back pocket. So basically, when we get into training camp and everything, I should still have videos that I'm like, I need to get that done before the regular season starts. I don't want to be in a position where I reach August 15th and go, all right, I'm fresh out of everything. I have no idea what I'm doing a video on today. So I'm intentionally, and that's part of keeping the video output lower. I'm going to make sure those career videos get done that should get done. As long as it's a career that's got some really notable things to it, Stanley Cups and maybe some times in the top 10 of scoring, or a lot of wins and shutouts if it's a goaltender, that kind of thing. Or something that just makes that career really stand out and really interesting, then those videos will get done. I'm intending to do a members live stream tomorrow, and we want to do a channel-wide live stream this week as well. It's been very busy with 2 of our 3 kids have a lot going on at most times, and so it makes everything very busy, so we don't necessarily have the time. There's also been discussion about whether or not I might do a solo live stream or 2. So that's a possibility that I may end up doing a solo live stream or 2. I do prefer to have my wife in the live streams with me, though. I know that that's been a discussion point too, but I do enjoy her sort of running the live stream and me just, answering questions and just keeping it nice and casual. One thing I'm trying to do, and I guess that leads into this, is I keep things simple. One of the reasons why I still use the whiteboard, it's kind of what I'm known for. And I've learned over the years that if I can stress myself out, I will. So I want to make sure I'm putting myself in a position where I'm not going to be stressing myself out. I'm not giving myself more to do than I can do. And so keeping it simple is important, because if everything starts to pile up, I can actually kind of shut down. Where I'm like, and that's too much, and my brain is now shut off. Cool. So I'm doing my best to keep everything simple, and I think that it's worked for the chat. So everything's one take. The first video I did today took 15 takes. The Utah Mammoth one took 15 takes. I don't know what my problem was getting up this morning, but I had a lot of stoppages because I didn't like and it's usually right at the start of the video I know if it's not working. So, and they're not fun outtakes. It's not like I'm swearing and then I laugh, and no, it's just I start a video and I go, nah, I don't like that. Nah, I can't say that. Nah, that's not right. Nope. And so the Utah one, I just could not get in the zone with that today. And so with the fact that I already do that, imagine if you threw in a bunch of video editing and a whole bunch of takes and me trying to figure, that would be a nightmare. You might get a review for October 7th games on maybe October 20th when I'm happy with it. And then it might come out again on October 22nd when it's the actual version I'm happy with. It's just, it would be a disaster. So one take and upload. Always a one take and upload. I've done it that way since 2016. And I know I can stress myself out if I'm adding more to that. Although there's a couple of things I'm thinking about for certain videos, but that's a whole other discussion. And the questions I get a lot of are, how many jerseys do you have? I don't have an answer. I don't know how many I have. When I do the countdown, it'll tell you approximately how many I have that I can do a countdown with. I don't have an actual number. I don't know how many magnets I have. It's in the, I would say easily, I'm just looking at the ones I got in the room here. It's in the thousands. It could be in the tens of thousands, because I've just kept making them for the last 8 years at least. With the board and the whiteboard, I find it important to make sure I'm updating. I know it sounds silly, but I'll get whatever stickers from like the late 90s, early 2000s are great, because it kind of covers logos I may not have, and in some cases teams that have moved or rebranded, right? So I try to make sure I've got everything I need that way, and I know, to me it sounds silly even hearing myself say it, because I don't think there would ever be a time where I would watch a channel and go, well, the magnet that he's using for that team is not what they were using that season. So I think it's kind of silly that, but here we are. At any rate, yeah. The how many of whatever that I have, I don't have a number. I don't. I wish I did, but I don't. And then I wanted to close this out with my honest appraisal of the NHL. If you've stayed here that long, come on along. I think the NHL is at 32 teams, which is perfect. I don't think they need more. I do think they will expand. I don't speak out against the officiating. I don't rail on officiating. I don't yell and scream, because it doesn't make a difference. I'm not here to advocate for better officiating standards when I think officiating standards are the same as they've always been. And the National Hockey League, the Department of Player Safety, they're not combing the internet looking for YouTuber opinions on how things are going. So I understand my role is to convey information. I try to keep myself as, I wouldn't say emotionless, but I try to make sure I'm as neutral as possible on every topic. And my opinion on the NHL is simply that I think they worry too much about what other leagues are doing when it comes to their broadcasts, although some of that is ESPN and Sportsnet driven as well. The league is making a lot more money than it ever has. I think that Bettman's done a good job of generating revenue for the NHL with decisions that have been made and some decisions that weren't made that people wanted made a different way. And so is there somebody else that could have done a better job than Bettman? Maybe, yeah. There's definitely, there are definitely probably people who could have done a better job than Bettman as commissioner, but it's been his job for a very long time. And I think that while I understand the amount of booing the guy gets and the amount of dislike that he gets, I also think it's kind of crazy and over the top at times, because I'm old enough to remember when he prevented other Canadian teams from leaving. After Winnipeg and Quebec left, there were other teams that could have left, and he made sure they didn't. So I understand people being still mad that Quebec City's not in the mix. But that's also from the NHL owners. The NHL owners don't want Quebec City back as a market. They don't think that that's a good growth opportunity for the league. And I'm not going to stand here and say that I don't want the Nordiques back. Of course I do. I've been getting WHA Nordiques jerseys. I got the experimental one that they were going to change to, and then they moved to Colorado instead. I got that from Royal Retros because it's a fun one. And so, like, I understand, and I do have that sentimentality for Quebec City, and I would love to see the Nords come back. But I'm also realistic in understanding the NHL's perspective, and I'm not going to be able to change their opinion. So all I can do is say, yeah, I would love to see them come back. No, I think the NHL should not expand past 32 teams. But I also believe that the 32 markets they have right now are absolutely viable. They're good markets. And I think it's more important for the NHL to make sure that all 32 markets are healthy rather than looking at expanding, rather than looking at, where they might relocate if they need to. Just make sure these teams are strong where they are. But yeah, it is definitely something I understand. There's complications to a fan's relationship with the National Hockey League. And ticket prices going up around the league is going to have people feeling a certain kind of way too. So when that salary cap is doing this, so are ticket prices. Ticket prices are going up as well. That's baked in. So at any rate, I'm not going to be going to an NHL game this year for 2 straight seasons now. No NHL games. Based on cost, not based on a lack of interest. Which is frustrating, but there's people paying to go. They're still selling out. Vancouver still sells out. So as long as people are paying for the tickets, those prices are not coming down. And meanwhile, I'll go to the occasional concert. Because I don't think a Korn concert's going to disappoint me the way that a Canucks game could. Or the way that staying home and watching some of the games that I watch can. And I also do my best before starting the review video to make sure I've calmed down and I'm no longer emotional. Sometimes it takes a little while. During the playoffs, sometimes it takes a few minutes for me to, get all the words out that I can't use in a video, and then I settle down and I make the video. So, and I that's why I always kind of chuckle when I see people saying how, remarkably neutral I am and how I, maintain that unbiased. On camera, absolutely. When the camera's not quite on, a little bit less. But the job that I have, the channel that's been built over the last 9 years, very important. I also wanted to say, too, the channel really is, I make these videos, I upload them, I do the thumbnails. My wife does a lot of the stuff on the back end, which is not seen on camera, but keeps me sane and makes sure I'm not being overwhelmed. And so I do this with her. We don't have anybody else hired. I'm not going to be hiring anybody else. There is the chance I may hire somebody for like a freelance kind of thing at some point. But if I do, it'll be somebody that I know or somebody that I've had dealings with before, that kind of thing. So I really don't, and I don't think that's happening this summer either. So yeah, there you go. My opinion on the NHL, and then a little bit of extra at the end about how the channel runs and all of that fun stuff. But I do need to do the entertainment guy video for today, which I haven't really thought about. I'm going to talk about the wrestling a little bit more. Maybe I'll do another WrestleMania review, that kind of thing. But at any rate, I'm done here for now. I do need to do a career video on this channel, though, before the day is done. Because there's one that I saw somebody commenting about, and I thought, yeah, I've been talking about, or they've been talking about me doing that one for a while, so I should get that one done. But there you go. I don't expect there to be nearly as many news videos from now until probably, near the end of August. I don't expect there to be a lot going on outside of... I still expect some trades this offseason. I think they're still coming. I don't think general managers are done making moves. I think, and that's why I'm doing the off-season look at teams in the order that I'm doing them. I'm trying to work my way from teams that look like their rosters are pretty set to teams that probably still have more to do. So that kind of thing. But anyways, thank you guys so much for your time. It's greatly appreciated. Do hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. The channel had the best month it's ever had in the month of June, and I thank you guys for that. It's greatly appreciated. We also had a very strong first half of July. Second half of July is the second half of July. And then August and September are August and September. So I know how this usually goes and how things can end up. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's greatly appreciated, especially in the middle of summer. But do hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.